officially. I would like to call the meeting to order of the Clermont County Port Authority Board of Directors. If we could have a roll call, please.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Roque?
Yes.
Mr. DeBonis?
Here.
Mr. DeFisher?
Here.
Mr. Parsons?
Here.
Mr. Simpson?
Here.
Thank you. Could we have a motion to approve the minutes of the June 14th board meeting?
Madam Chair, I make a motion for the minutes of June 14th meeting.
Good motion. Do we have a second? To
I'll
approve the
second.
minutes.
Sure.
Thank you. Roll call vote?
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Roque?
Yes.
Mr. DeBonis?
Yes.
Mr. DeFisher?
Yes.
Mr. Parsons?
Abstain.
Do you want to state your reason for abstention?
I
We're not here.
Not here, thank you.
At this time, I'd like to move to a public comment section. During this time, the board of directors are not required at all to answer any questions or engage in debate, recommended not to. No member of the public may comment about a matter that's not within the purview of the Port Authority's responsibilities, obviously, because we're only here for specific purposes. The board members are not expected to comment on matters brought to the board during this time. Each speaker shall only speak once and shall be recognized by the vice chair before speaking. That would be me. And we ask that you please limit your comments to 5 minutes. We will time that. So at this time, is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board? You are welcome to do so. Mr. Hicks?
I'm waiting for somebody in Clermont County agenda to say Chris Hicks and public participation. So thank you for hearing me. I already distributed to you members of the Port Authority Board, Sam DeBonis from Park National Bank, Greg DeFisher of Freeman Schwabe, Greg Simpson, Chair of the Republican Party, Rex Parsons, the Batavia Township Administrator, and Loretta Roque, the Pierce Township Administrator, the comments I intend to read. So let me get right into them. What you consider today is the biggest part, by far, of the subsidization of FC Cincinnati. Frankly, this is beyond subsidization. This is over $18 million in benefit to a private company for which the government will own land and facilities. We get no increase in taxable property, no public infrastructure, and at best 60 jobs. It's a poster child of crony capitalism. I am not your enemy, or even the enemy of a good deal. I want to give you all the facts and ammunition to fix this deal. I think Commissioner Painter did the right thing. I want you to realize you can also do the right thing. I'm not saying kill the deal, but get it fixed before giving so very much away. I am not the one who put you in this lousy position in which you are simply asked to vote versus truly play a part in the formation of this deal. On June 26, when Milford first presented the deal, supposedly before any Port Authority engagement, City Manager Michael Doss, who is in attendance here today, singled out Chris Ham for thanks. He did not specify if it was Ham's CVB leadership role, his Port Authority leadership role, or in his Milford School Board role. Probably all. He clearly was involved from nearly every angle. I don't think you were involved from hardly any angle. This is a disservice to you, the Port Authority Board, and the people of Clermont County. Now, 71 days after that June 26th presentation, you're being asked to rubber stamp a deal with not one single change from that presentation. Supposedly, before Port Authority involvement, not one. It has never been on your agenda prior to June 26th, and this is your first meeting since then. So you were never engaged for feedback and input as a board. That is wrong, unfair, and not the way we should be doing business in Clermont County. Independent checks and balances are a hallmark of our system. I have pointed out policy issues with this deal, and that even using the most optimistic projections from a flawed study, the math does not work. Bottom line, a deal 1/2 this size would never be offered to any other private business. I think you all know that. You can do the math, especially the business people here and the administrators. In fact, I put it all in one exhibit using the most optimistic numbers from the CVB study that clearly shows it's a loser deal as it currently stands. It's terrible. But the actual terms are as or more stunning. The deal does not actually obligate FC Cincinnati to any level of investment. The land purchase agreements funded by taxpayers or be executed by government are top secret from government, the public, and you. Milford Schools, blaming you for tying their hands, sold out for $235,000 against $11 million. A host of other entities lose money, such as Great Oaks, who happens to have a levy on the ballot this year. The people of Milford are on the hook for land debt service. I think you can see the sloppiness of the deal. This is monumentally irresponsible government. So what have I asked? Pause and fix this deal. Insist that the blatantly confusing, missing, and conflicting terms are corrected. Insist that schools and the other entities losing money are better protected. Do away with the scam of commercial subletting by FC Cincinnati. Look at the other points I have raised. Protect the citizens, the taxpayers, and the kids, not the interest of a few enamored politicians. I think this is a day that will be remembered, September 5th, 2018. Will it be that you rubber stamped, or that you today became a real and independent board and got this cleaned up? It's time to take personal responsibility. I am rooting for you as a Port Authority board. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you for your comments. Would anyone else in the audience like to address the board? If there are no other public comments at this time, we will close the public comment section. Under new business, I asked, is there a motion to adopt resolution 2018-02 authorizing the issuance and sale of Port Authority revenue bonds in a maximum principal amount of $30 million for the purpose of financing a portion of the cost of acquiring, constructing, and otherwise improving Port Authority facilities within the meaning of section 4582.21 Ohio Revised Code for the benefit of FCC Training Facility LLC, and authorizing the execution and delivery of related documents and matters. Do we have a motion? We will have discussion prior to voting on this matter. Could we ask the legal counsel first to briefly summarize this item for the board?
Yeah, sure. So I'll give you just a general overview of the transaction, what's contemplated here in the resolution, and then if there's any aspects of it you want to dig into, just let me know. But I think that just from a basic transactional description, the first step is that once the property is acquired, the property will then be transferred to the Port Authority. The feasible initiative will be transferred to the port will own the property. At that point, the bonds will be issued. The proceeds of the bonds will basically be used directly on a drawdown basis, so as they incur costs to build the facility on the site, the funds will go from FC Cincinnati or a subsidiary thereof. They'll either use their equity or borrow money from the bank, typical construction loan. The money will then be advanced or drawn on that credit facility that we meet. FC Cincinnati will serve basically as what we call here the construction manager at risk. So they will basically build the facility on behalf of the port. As the facility is built, once it's fully built, there will be a lease agreement. Under the lease agreement, the site and the improvements thereon, the facility itself, will be leased to FC Cincinnati LLC or some other entity of FC Cincinnati. That will be a triple net lease. All of the costs of operating, managing, owning the project will be borne by FC Cincinnati. Under the lease, the payments that will be paid in addition to some additional costs, basically the payments that will be paid to the port will then be assigned to the entity that purchased bonds. So as the payments come in to make lease payments, those payments then go to pay off the debt or to repay FC Cincinnati for the money that they basically put into the lease agreement will be basically a 360-day lease. Will be renewable upon the mutual approval of both Port and FC Cincinnati, or the lessee, whichever any that may be. And of course, the intention there is that they will benefit from a sales tax exemption that's provided under those circumstances during the term of the lease, or so long as it is in place, or so long as it is extended. That's sort of the overview. Sorry if that was run through too quickly, so let me know if you had any questions about how that would work, or just about the transaction.
There are some clarifying questions from the board.
You don't have to rehash it.
I would like to just ask, first, a simple question, well, a couple. Can the debt be prepaid, defeased?
Yes, they could prepay it, but the whole, I think that part of the lease, the fact that the lease and the debt are intertwined, I think it's going to be set up so that that debt will be repaid based on those lease payments. And so I think that the lease payments is a consideration for that relationship between lessor and lessee. So I think that what will happen is that at some point, for some reason, the lease will not renewed or terminated for some other reason, at that point, the debt would be ready for the pay of the whole transaction.
So related to that, what is the debt to the port?
Well,
By doing this, and what are the safeguards to ensure that we are not owners of a facility that's
yeah, so first of all,
completed, and of course, there is an annual review period.
sure. So under the lease itself will have various requirements that the facility be maintained, be managed, all the various costs, expenses paid by the lessee. Secondly, the Port Authority itself, as the issuer of the debt, there will be absolutely no obligation for the port to repay any of those funds, principal or interest on the debt. That will only be paid from the lease payments that are made by FC Cincinnati. So that's one aspect of it. So there's no financial obligation. And as far as just any other obligation that come up, there's a very broad, detailed indemnification agreement whereby FC Cincinnati will indemnify the port for essentially any financial obligation that arise due to the port's, not only the ownership of the site and facility, but basically due to their involvement in this transaction whatsoever. We obviously make it pretty broad, or as broad as we can, and I think that, in my estimation, would be fully covered. There would be no possible way that owing money really under any circumstance, and that would cover legal costs and all sorts of ancillary costs that, you never know what could possibly happen with these transactions, but we can take care of against identification where there will be no risk to the
And as long as the Port Authority holds the property and the lease agreement, they, by virtue of being basically owned by the Port Authority, the land is tax exempt for that period of time.
Correct. There is a provision of the Ohio West Code that allows property that's owned by a port authority to be exempt from tax. And it does permit that property to be leased out for a period that is not exceeded a year. So that is the reason why there is technically it's a 1-year lease as opposed to a 20-year lease or a 2-year lease or anything more than 1 year. Because if it were, then that facility would not benefit from the tax exemption. And so, again, there is some risk in that there will support, and then it can't be canceled, but it's not renewed after any of those 1-year periods in the future for extensions.
I do understand that it's a complicated proposition, it's very unique to a sports facility, as I understand it, especially in our role as a Port Authority. And I have reviewed materials and the video, the board meeting, participated in sitting in one of the public meetings that the commissioners had held.
One additional comment I'd like to make is, I'd like to stress the point that this is a 360-day lease. This is not a 20-year deal, it's a 360-day deal. I have every confidence that it is going to be scrutinized every year for what development occurs, what kind of increases do we see in hotel room nights, the new hotels happening that can be traced back to this development, more soccer tournaments coming in that we can trace back to this development. 3 to 5 years from now, after the facility's been built and operational for a couple of years, at that time, that board of commissioners will very likely take a very hard look at this deal and say, and make a determination, is it worth it? And if it's not worth it, they can request the Port Authority to either renegotiate the lease or not renew it. And we have, at that point, we'll have the leverage. And FC Cincinnati realizes that this is a risk for them going in there. They'd like to see 20 years, but absolutely no certainty. So answering all the questions about, are the financial projections and economic impact projections, are they good, are they valid, are they real? How real, how much can you really count on any projections anybody makes, whether it's a company's fiscal projections for the next quarter or the next year, or government's revenue projections. We do our best. So the best data was used with a company that does this, and those are the projections that we have to work with. So only point I'll provide to the board is it's a 360-day lease.
So the goal is at some point then down the road to have this property generate tax, right? At some point.
Well, from the fees that the Port Authority will be getting from day one, from the first year that this becomes tax exempt, the Port Authority will be looking at taking the fees and making all the countywide levies whole for the dollars they're currently getting from the current property valuation on the site.
Right, so those entities, day one, are not going to be set back by this.
Right. They're not going to experience any growth right away. The second item on the agenda is a separate agreement with Milford CIC, where they're, in a few years, going to start providing financial contributions to the Port Authority, that we absolutely intend to take those dollars and turn around and supplement what those countywide levies are getting already. So the idea is that they are going to see growth over time. It's not going to be a make-whole growth, but it's going to be growth. Yeah. The school district negotiated their own compensation agreement with FC, so we're not involved in that. So it's their agreement, and providing documentation to the Board of Commissioners for it.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just question up. The hotel tax kind of bothers me a little bit. I do a lot of this, what other deals I do with. Now, at any given time, about 67% of all the rooms are filled in this county, even in peak season. At 1%, we're going to fall way short of our projection to maintain or services whomever servicing this debt. That 1% falls way short. Is that reviewed also at the end of the year?
Just to make clear, the debt here is not going to be supported by the hotel tax.
Okay.
The hotel tax is going to be used to pay debt service on separate debt that, my understanding is, will be issued by the city of Milford. And the city of Milford will then, whatever, I'm not as intimately involved in that saying.
Port Authority is not involved with that lodging tax going towards that Milford City debt for the land acquisition. We're not involved at all.
The only bonds issued by the port are bonds, so there's, I think it's around $3 million or whatever the going cost is to issue by the city of Milford. They will use assign hotel tax revenues to repay that debt. This debt will be for bonds that are essentially, it's payable by police. So I think back to your question, for some reason, some things were a little high. The structure essentially collapses in the board, it steps out of the middle. And so there, the lessee's obligation to then ensure that the purchaser of bonds is paid to whether it's the bank, work that out. The port, though, is not dependent on the revenues from the hotel tax. It's only revenues that are paid for. And again, there's obviously some incentive for them to continue to pay their lease payments, which are equal to bond payments, in order to keep lease, their lease in place. Without it, they don't have a property tax exemption. So it all sort of needs to work for them to get their incentive, and that includes the satisfaction of the board that they are supporting a project that's beneficial to the community, it's from a financial perspective. Any sorry, I didn't.
No, I'm just going, so now there are any types of improvements that just say, because I live near there,
Yeah, sure.
and this probably doesn't have anything to do with this, but I know there were wide Ramsey out there, additional police. Now, who's that? That doesn't fall on us, I know. I'm not here to renegotiate his contract, okay, at all. No, I'm just kind of curious. Who takes care of that? Has that been addressed?
That is the responsibility of the city of Milford. The city of Milford had done their own report that their police and fire had provided that did not anticipate their increase in demand over the Expressway Ballpark facility that was there before, because that would have drawn a sidewalk crowd during certain seasons. And the type of activity that they had, I believe they saw similar to what they were already seeing there.
Well, nice thing, Madam Chair. I understand we have someone, maybe you can address the board that cannot, anybody here from Milford, the Milford City Schools. If they're here, I'd like to hear their opinion. That's awesome.
Is it appropriate to call, I know that Mr. Doss is here from the city of Milford. Do we
Public comments, public comments.
To invite
Hello?
them?
And I withdraw the question.
Otherwise, I can answer any questions
I don't think
based
there's
on
a
looking
problem.
at documents that I had
Well, she
seen
would
that they had
also-
presented also at the hearing of the commissioners.
Yeah, but I would just say.
I would just,
I think that as far as the roads and the responsibility, that this would fall under the entity to general responsibilities. So you have, obviously, in townships and cities and counties, there is responsibility for certain infrastructure, roads, sidewalks, and whatnot. So that would really be, that burden would be borne by.
the local community,
The local community that's
that's the
responsible.
jurisdiction that is. Right. City of Milford collects an income tax, and also a hotel tax of their own. So if there was any additional growth in activity from the current hotels or any new hotels that might come with new activities, that could increase property values in the area. But for the city itself, income tax is usually the generator of income. It's reliable, and that's what pays for their food services. Just knowing that from experience.
Explain a little bit further. I understand what you said about our protection in this, but, so we're going to hold title to the properties.
Correct.
And then the FC Cincinnati is going to get the construction financing from a third-party lender, which
Potentially, it's really up to them. So my understanding at this point is we have established two bond purchasers. As you know, in certain instances, you go and sell bonds to private equity or the central market, what have you. So in this case, my understanding is FC will buy them, so that our bond purchase agreement, for lack of a better term, will be between the port and FC Cincinnati, where they get their money, basically buy the bonds, which is essentially them putting the money into the project. They may go to a bank and borrow that money. They may use funds that they have money they've had deposited or sort of invested with that in Go.
So let's say they do go the route of a bank.
Okay.
So they're not able to mortgage this property to secure that financing because the Port Authority is who holds title to it, correct?
Correct. And it will depend on what the bank's demands are. And I don't know what they are actually with the bank, but it is possible the bank would say we need a mortgage. So what would happen here is sort of the two mortgages we're talking about here. But one of them is that FC is going to have a mortgage on the property that you own, that the port owns, assuming it does. Let's say, for example, 5 years from now, the port decides we don't want to renew the lease. Clearly, but they obviously don't want to just give up the project, the facility, and everything, we said not to renew the lease. So that mortgage will basically be flipped on, and they'll be able to take the property back in the lease.
So they can continue operations. I
Yes.
get that part. So let's go to the other route with it. The construction financing is secured by a mortgage. So since we hold title to it, we've got to be
Subordinate.
we've got to grant that.
We would sign, if FC wanted to do that, and they agreed on signing a subordination, so
Right, so then, let's go further with that, and let's say that FC becomes operationally unable to service the debt to that lender that has that mortgage. Now, explain what our consequences are then as owner of the property and also grantor of the mortgage.
Well, let's just say we had two flows of money. It goes from bank, FC Cincinnati, port, essentially to what's called the project. Then money comes back from the project to the port, is what it's signed, what is goes from the project to the port, FC, and let's say the bank goes back to them. So your question would be, if they are basically insolvent, they can't pay. So we're assuming that they can't then make the lease payments to the port, which is assigned to FC Cincinnati, so it goes back to the bank. If they can't make the payments to you, essentially this collapses. It's all due and payable. It would be put back essentially to them. We had the ability to sort of force the property back on them so that you're not holding the property. And they would be responsible. It's a little odd because you're sort of one of the entities responsible to the other. But essentially you would say, FC Cincinnati, you owe whoever the bondholder is all this money. You take the property back. We're extracting ourselves from it. There's no more property tax exemption. There's nothing else that the board is obligated to do or to pay or anything else. So the whole thing will have a collapsing mechanism if there's financial difficulty or if there's again, lack of desire on either party to release. So part of this is dependent. It's a little bit up in the air because of not knowing who the bank is, what they would want, what the terms are we want from them to FC Cincinnati.
And wouldn't it also be important that the port be a party to, or sorry, not the port, but the bank potentially be a party to that indemnification agreement that FC and the port have?
Well, the indemnification agreement is going to cover the port from basically anything that happened. I mean, there's particular concerns you that the port would be somehow left exposed to. Are you concerned that the port would somehow get their other assets seized by the bank?
Yeah, so my two largest concerns, and we address them on the countywide levies. The other concern is our protection if FC all of a sudden collapse. They are not making money, they don't have the ability to service their debts. What's our protection in all of that? Where does that leave us?
If that were to happen, there would be no more ownership. We would be able to basically transfer the property back to them. It would be a reversionary interest ability to put it back to them. It's not yours.
So we would walk away.
You just walk away. It will not be, they're essentially, you have the money go from here to here to here, right, from here to here to here. The port just pulls out. It is going from, FC back to some other FC entity or the bank. The port just extracts itself from that process. In any of these circumstances, whether it's violation of the lease, whether it's a failure to pay under the lease, anything else, the port is just, you're out. It reverts back to where you transfer from the business. There's very little, there's no possibility you can be left just holding this where you would be owed the money. I mean, you can't even, particularly the bond documents, will be very clear, it is not a general obligation of the port. There is nothing that the port is, there's no assets of the port that are pledged or otherwise available to repay any debt to anyone other than what their interest is in the debt facility. In that case, where you have the financial stress, the financial problems, the port's going to say, okay, I don't think the port wants to hold on to anything, they don't want to be involved in that. Obviously it's a little bit different when you're a borrower, you don't want to basically be on your assets and the problems, you want to negotiate or you want. You just don't want it to take away, but in this case, we want to take it away. Make sure it's taken away. The bank is happy with that too, because they don't think they get it, not have the port, basically arguing that they are able to maintain their assets or keep any of this, we'll still step out of the transaction.
I'm kind of curious. As far as the financing, don't you think that we already know who that's lined up with the banks already? I mean, we're kind of like looking at, I agree with this gentleman here. Walk away, when they walk away, you realize, I'm just curious, just answer the question. No one knows what the financing is, or who the banks are going to be, or who the major players are. All right, let's just say they do walk away in a year's time, okay? Look at them. That's really one big mess, isn't it? And it's gonna take years to clean that up. Who owes who, and who's gonna pay what, and FC does this. They got a room full of attorneys to stop stuff like this. That's all I'm asking. I just don't want to be caught holding the bag and giving us a black eye.
The Corps would pay nothing.
I understand that.
And we're not gonna hold on to the land either.
I understand that, but we still have a black eye because we approved it. You see what I'm saying? That's what bothers me a little bit.
You know, part of that is a policy decision. You know, obviously, I think that there are, and I don't know the age of this, but I think it's, if this were just, let's say an LLC, where you had a company that's coming in, they're going to build a spec office development, and they come to the board, and they say, we'd like to utilize some of the things you have. That's something that mostly had here, I think they're very well established. And I'm not here to advocate for this project at all. I'm here just to describe to you the legal ramifications. But I think that there, how much you know or how much you put into it, but with the backing that FC Cincinnati has and the resources, if someone was going to come in and build a building like this, you would probably look at how leveraged are you, right? Where's your bank financing from? What bank is giving this to you? Who is going to guarantee your loan? All those sorts of things. But here, it's a little bit different situation where they probably want the flexibility because they can probably just pay for it with cash. I'm not exactly sure what they're doing. It's similar to their saving downtown. I don't think they necessarily need a bank loan to come in. You know, but yes, I mean, anytime you are involved in, I assume, any economic development project, or basically any action in connection with private entity as a political, there is some risk the project won't work out. And again, that's part of the policy decision that I think the board is here to make as representatives of the community. And that's whether you think this is a viable project and whether, based on the facts that you know there, you think this is something that you want to assist and facilitate. I don't have much more insight as far as the finances of FC Cincinnati than the rest of it.
I guess I would liken it to wonder, surely in some form or fashion, they're pre-qualified and know where this one is going to come from. But the day that you lock in your loan is the day you know if you're entertaining more than one proposal, which one is the one that's the best fit for you. Now, who will that agreement purely be between FC Cincinnati and the bank or the lender, and will the Port Authority executive director have access to knowing what that is when these documents are executed?
If there is a lender, let's assume there is, as you said, I would imagine that lender is going to want some sort of mortgage or assignment or contingent assignment or whatever it is for the Port Authority's interest in this property, just in case there is some reason why you do this before we try to hold on to some aspect of it. But again, I think that the court, at least in my mind, would be comfortable with providing a mortgage because in those cases where it's been taken, you basically say take it because you don't want the responsibility. Under the lease and these various documents, it's very clear that you do not want any responsibility, whether it's for operational costs, expenses, ongoing costs, capital costs, legal fees, taxes, any of these things. That is all put on the lessee. So you essentially have this reversionary interest, but that barely, in theory, hardly exists because if the worst were collapse anyway, you go back to FC Cincinnati. So, sorry, going off tangent. Does that just make sense?
Just for clarification, the term sheet does have a section that specifically addresses fee and leasehold mortgage at the bottom of page 4 going into the solid. So this topic is addressed, it contemplates this. And everything we've been talking about, which is if for some reason FC would cease to exist in 2 years, the agreements will be structured so that the port relinquishes its ownership of the property. Property becomes taxable immediately, and we have no debt, no obligations remaining.
Well, who's the property go back to?
Whoever holds the mortgage at that time.
If
If
the
it's
FC
FC, if they got a loan from a bank and they asked us to subordinate the mortgage to the bank, then it's the bank.
Then they would pay us back.
There's nothing.
I mean, they'd be responsible for property taxes, so that's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah,
Right, it would be taxable then because we would have.
yeah, once we don't have ownership, it becomes taxable, but it's not gonna be our responsibility to pay those taxes.
I have a question. Who's their counsel, FC Cincinnati?
Keating, anything?
Yeah. And so this is a draft, right? And they seen this draft of the term sheet?
Yes.
Or they had, so this is a final document, but it still says draft, so I'm wondering.
It hasn't been signed because it's not been approved.
Right, yeah, sorry, I should have asked the question differently. So,
Yes, the terms of substantial I'll agree to.
Okay,
It is
that-
anticipated that that is the document.
okay, that was my, because I didn't know how term sheets go.
Yeah. It, of course, you know, if you're retail, it's of course subject to your all's board's approval.
Yep, okay.
But yes, in the term sheet, it is a term sheet still, but yes, it is all.
So say we pass the resolution, we walk on the term sheet. You just- To the point you made, you just page 5 and page 4 is in there. They say absolutely not, I'm not agreeing to that. What happens?
Nothing.
Nothing happens. Nothing happens without the term sheet being signed by both parties.
Well, I guess technically you could go and, so the term sheet really is to have more blueprint. So that both parties, or all parties, are basically on the same page. And that is so that when we go start doing all these documents that are described in here, that we have something to, you know, as a good faith type of blueprint that we're relying on, we understand how it's going to work. So if you didn't do the term sheet, I mean, technically, this does authorize the executive director to move forward with the transaction otherwise, so we could. I don't know why there would be a deviation from it doing that. I don't know if that would be a good idea, because this is, yeah, sort of use the term, the blueprint for how everyone understands work, and there's a blueprint understanding from part of all parties that this is how.
This is generally how Port Authority deals are structured and sequenced, based on timing issues, and based on cost issues. The term sheet is the first very specific thing, that is there's action taken on it, but then also generally broad authorization for executive director or chairperson of the board to then further execute all the subsequent documents that are going to get drafted. Drafting the documents costs a lot of money, and so generally Port Authorities don't want to spend more in legal fees than what it's going to cost to work on tweaking and developing a term sheet and getting the other party to sign that term sheet, and usually putting a deposit down, which is going to be the case here, and that sets the tone. And you know, we actually went with this route after we were first formed in 2012, and to work on a deal that didn't happen. The company pulled out at the last minute after we had drafted a handful of documents, and we had no term sheet signed, we had no down payment from them, and we were stuck. So and then we learned that, well, other port authorities, this is how they do it, and this is how we've been doing it. This is standard practice.
Madam Chairman, what's the time limit on, what time limit on phone? I mean, this is a big deal.
Yes, to help advise us on this, and also if you could provide any insight in terms of the competitiveness of this offering.
The Board of County Commissioners has approved the lodging tax increase. I have had two commissioners, specifically Commissioner Humphrey and Commissioner Hubel, have expressed, previously it was an adopted motion to support the Port Authority moving forward with this several weeks ago. But then that motion got rescinded because of a request to handle the timing so that the commissioners meeting would happen first on the lodging tax before the Port Authority meeting would happen, which was the very first cancellation. So from a timing perspective, those two voted yes on having the Port Authority move forward with this structure, and that's on record. And then I had Commissioner Humphrey specifically tell me to pass on to the board that he still very much supports this project moving forward. We know that there's time constraints for construction out there, for everything from getting grass planted and getting it growing in correctly to starting construction of a facility. So usually is the case with these projects, time is of the essence.
So what you're saying, we really don't have any more time to restudy this.
I don't know what else there is to study. We really don't have any, you've got all the information on this.
Are there additional questions? Legal counsel or staff?
I've been a little quiet here, the new person on the block, but I will tell you that it's a very complicated matter, but I do appreciate the clarification and the question from other board members. I feel much more confident in this process.
I'll just make one last comment. From my standpoint, I am not going to sign any lease that is absolutely 100% subject to our ability to not renew it every 360 days. And our attorney won't accept such a lease being written.
And frankly, theirs won't either, because they know that
Right.
the provisions of the code, it would allow them to have
So
tax.
I'll just reinforce that point one more time. It's a 360 day lease.
I will say I'm very risk averse, but, and that's why my first question had to do with, what are the ramifications if this is not successful, as you said. We don't know maybe that way a decision is going to come us later. I do believe that the other entities, the school board, the city of Milford, the commissioners have come to agreements. I think that the reason most likely that anyone is willing to take on risk is because we believe that there's going to be a greater reward to the communities in terms of additional hotel beds, generating revenue, additional activities that will be spurring increases in property values adjacent to the site, that will have greater impacts along the whole corridors of State Route 28 and West 50 and beyond. This certainly is not the game facility. It is a practice facility, but if you speak a little bit more in terms of the type of utilization it's likely to see, it can host other activities in terms of training facilities for other groups and using it for the same type of activities. I don't know if it'll have a gift shop that will also sell anywhere that would generate sales tax. If somewhere next door now some facility like that might happen, those things could increase property tax values in the whole region. And I also am somewhat familiar with the property as it's been, if it were to lay fallow for quite some time, because otherwise it's not very desirable. It could very well become another parking lot for adjacent use. So I don't have a good crystal ball. Can you speak to what you imagine happening in the future if this is successful?
From what I've seen, FC Cincinnati, Jeff Birding is 100% has his sights set on going toe-to-toe with the newest, best, most modern, cutting-edge training facility and youth academy in the United States in MLS soccer, which is the Atlanta facility, which I did get to go see while it was under construction. And I've seen videos since it was built, and I'd be happy to send you links to some YouTube videos from ESPN Sports where they kind of do an inside tour of the facility and what are all the features of it. It is absolutely one of a kind, a facility for the training, for the staff, for the team. But then the other aspect of it is the youth academy. The youth academy is going to be an absolute game changer in the Cincinnati region with respect to youth soccer. This is going to become a farm team, not just for FC Cincinnati, but for the entire MLS. And so it is going to dramatically change how families think about what teams they want their kids to play. It's instantly going to become the top tier youth soccer club in Holbrook. And that's going to have an impact, I believe, in attracting housing, and it's going to attract retail that goes along with that and services that goes along with that as well to a wide area around Clermont County and to Hamilton County as well. This is going to be a huge deal when parents can literally know that if their kid is good enough and they get accepted into this youth academy, there's a chance that they could go pro. And you could see all the MLS player salaries this year for every team on the website. You know, 2 million, 6 million, some of the highest ones, and plenty of 100,000 to 300,000 and 500,000 salaries as well. So this will be a big deal, and it's going to change that market dramatically. And I think that we are underestimating the impact of that. But what I'll say is that from what I've seen, Jeff Birding is going to be wanting to go toe-to-toe with Atlanta. And Atlanta has the newest model for this that they built. And doesn't want to settle for second best. So it's going to be every bit as nice, every bit as attractive to attract players to play there, and to attract the best kids in the whole region to come play soccer.
Madam Chairman, if you had the chance to speak with anybody from Chambers of Commerce, Clermont County, or Milford, Miami Township, Chamber of Commerce.
Did not speak to the chambers. Has anyone else on the board?
I spoke to one person off the chamber. And then I had a few phone calls I don't get any call back.
Are there any other questions? It's a lot of food for thought, and it is our first conversation together. I believe I'll go back to the initial question. I won't read the whole resolution yet, but does anyone want to make a motion to adopt resolution 2018-02? Motion, do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Motion and a second. Do we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Mr. DeFisher?
Yes.
Mr. Parsons?
Yes.
Mr. DeBonis?
Yes.
Ms. Roki?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
No.
Motion carried.
Now, I would like to consider resolution 2018-03. We have discussion prior to the motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the execution and delivery of a compensation agreement entered into in connection with the FC Cincinnati Professional Sports Facility Project and approving related matters. Would you please address on this?
Sure, so this is a little bit simpler than the prior resolution here. Essentially what this agreement does is that the Milford CIC, Community Improvement Corporation, Milford, will pay the amounts on your, you'll have the executive summary. Basically, I'll just describe it. It starts off in years 1 through 6 at $0. Starting year 7 is $1,000, then increases by $1,000 for a year after that. The amounts are payable only so long as the sales tax exemption is in place. So as we discussed, with the sales tax exemption being terminable or non-renewable against the township court or FC, if it were terminated, then these payments obviously these would end as well. The idea here is that in addition to the $9,000 that's payable each year to the court under the lease agreement, according to the term sheet, these amounts would also be payable from the Milford CIC in order to make available funds for the community, for the jurisdiction of the Port Authority, to some extent to compensate for tax payments that will not be paid. So again, it's relatively simple. There's only amounts that are paid by the CIC, essentially agreement during the property tax sections of this. But any questions?
Pretty simple payment schedule. Starts out first few years at 0 to give the city of Milford time to start accruing some new revenues from new activity, from the payroll tax that they'll be collecting from the facility, and kind of ease their burden the first few years, and then allow us to ramp up. And again, these fees would we contemplate are going to be turned around and distributed back to all the countywide levies proportionally every year.
So this is basically the offset of losing the taxes that the properties generate right now.
This is for growth. This is for growth. The $9,000 a year fee that we're going to be getting from FC Cincinnati is part of the lease. Port's going to be getting. At this point, we only plan to hold on to about $2,000 of it a year to hold on for legal expenses, for anything that comes up that we need to address. And $7,000 of that, $9,000 fee, we could turn around and distribute back to this countywide levies, which is what they're getting now by. So that's currently the plan.
2018-03.
I'll make a motion.
Motion, we have a second.
And I'll second.
And roll call vote, please.
Mr. DeFisher?
Yes.
Mr. Parsons?
Yes.
Mr. DeBonis?
Yes.
Ms. Roki?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
No.
Motion carried.
Unless there's any other business to introduce here, we would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair, make a motion to adjourn.
Motion, second.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Mr. DeFisher?
Yes.
Mr. DeBonis?
Yes.
Mr. Parsons?
Yes.
Mr. Roki?
Thank you for your time. Thank you all.